Thank you.
Okay, so while they're working on the screen sharing, I'm gonna take this moment to quickly introduce Brooke to everyone here. So Brooke holds a bachelor's degree in computer engineering and a master's in applied systems engineering from Georgia Tech. She is currently a product manager at Home Depot, building out supply chain applications for future innovation. Prior to moving into product, she was a cabin avionics engineer at Delta Airlines, working on the designs for electrical systems and components throughout the aircraft fleet. She is passionate about developing the next generation of STEM enthusiasts. And today her topic will be about growing your network and also learning from your peers and mentors. And Brooke, if you would like to add on to anything, or you can just start if you want.
Amy, that was perfect. Thank you so much. I am so excited to be here with you today. And I think that in walking through my journey, I took a very non-traditional path into STEM and I fell completely sideways into it and have loved it. And I'm really looking to give you all a glimpse into networking, continuing to learn from a lot of the people around you because they have so many brilliant things that you can learn and just harnessing the power of that, even at a young age, and then continuing to build and build because it doesn't always start off easy. And so starting to chip away at it and flexing those muscles and continuing to grow. So thank you, Amy, and thank you, Jessica, for this. So with that, I had wanted to, can you all see my screen? Just making sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so similar to what Amy kind of walked through, just a high level overview. I went to Georgia Tech originally. I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada. Found my way to Atlanta because I applied and went to Georgia Tech. I just loved engineering and thought that it was a great balance of city and also culture and community within the school. So I have my bachelor's degree in computer engineering where my focus was in cybersecurity, and then a master's degree in applied systems engineering. And also during my time at Georgia Tech, it was really neat because I was able to be a part of a startup company and we built these audio boxes that we would put around the city, and we worked with the Georgia Department of Transportation. So that was a really neat experience. In college, I also interned with General Electric. I worked on a lot of strategic pitches for this manufacturing facility where there were these huge capacitors and transformers that people install all throughout the streets and the electrical lines. And so that was a great experience. But I learned through that I don't necessarily enjoy manufacturing. So then I found my way to Delta Airlines where I did a co-op, which a co-op is a term for 3 internships. So you intern, then you go to school for a semester, you intern again, go to school for a semester, and then intern again. So it had 3 different rotations, but I developed their new in-flight entertainment system. Delta had wanted to make that in-house and also wireless. So we got rid of a lot of the weight of the wires that had to go from every single set, like all the way to the front of the airplane. So that was really neat. And then lastly, I'm currently at Home Depot. I do product management. And I can definitely go into this more in other sessions or just reach out personally if you all have any questions. But I manage a team of 10 engineers from around the world, and we build out these applications, these software product applications, to help continue build our supply chain network and move product from point A to point B a lot faster, and making sure that we have all of the hammers and ladders and cement on the shelves for Home Depot to sell. So that is what I currently do. So with that, jumping into networking, I think networking can be a very, very scary word, especially, well, truly for anyone. I know that it was very intimidating for me. I think breaking it down, it's truly just the process of interacting with the other people around you and exchanging information, having conversations, growing, learning random things, even if that's quick fun facts about the weather man and how they calculate probability or the percentages of it raining, all the way down to figuring out ways to mow your lawn. I think that you can learn a lot from very different people, even if you don't have a lot in common at the baseline with them. And so it's just growing your network. And I think if you meet one person, then that person has 5 different other people that they know, and continuing to build that social interaction is just very important and can continue to foster a lot of growth for you, both socially, professionally, personally, things like that. So with that being said, how has networking and mentorship played in my life? I think that it's given me a lot of exposure to activities and ideas and thoughts that I would have never really found. When I had gone into college, I never thought that I would study abroad in China, but I had gained exposure from this mentor that I had. And he was like, hey, maybe you should go study engineering over in Shenzhen. And that was just a fabulous opportunity. I got my interview for my co-op at Delta Airlines, and I actually got my full-time job offer at Delta because of this endorsement that I had from a mentor. I was able to participate in this international physics tournament in Israel when I was in high school because I was recommended for this scholarship and got to travel and do a lot of the physical building for that competition. Exposure to the startup company that I had mentioned with the audio devices, exploring new career paths, growth in public speaking, and being very detail oriented, figuring out that I did want to go to graduate school after I got my bachelor's degree, and then just support in some of the challenges that I was facing, because that group of mentors in my network was able to walk me through and speak me through how I can best tackle those objections. So I think it's very important in all walks of life, no matter who you are, no matter what your interest is. So just trying to build up that importance. This is a quote that I really, really liked. The single greatest people skill is a highly developed and authentic interest in the other person. I think it's very important when you're networking is just get to know someone, because they have so many neat life experiences, even if they're younger than you. If they're not even interested in robotics and they love history or art or writing, I just think there's a lot to learn from a lot of different people, and being just very authentic and genuine and getting to know them and what they're interested in speaking about. Networking benefits. I mentioned how it can help me personally, but just overall, you can build your reputation. You get visibility to different career paths that you're interested in, different sponsorships or activities that you can participate in. Overall, bigger support. I think I've had a lot of people go to bat for me in my jobs that have just been in my network, because they know my work ethic and they can speak to that. They can help you in business. It's a good foothold for future impactful connections, and then also increases your confidence. I grew up being very, very shy, and I would not want to talk to anyone. And again, it's this muscle that you work, and just building the confidence to have that one conversation and then another conversation, and just kind of grows until you become a pro at it. So here are some of my networking tips and tricks. So number one, start networking before you need it. I think this one's really important, because especially when you're looking for a mentor or you're finding that person to talk to, you don't want them to feel that you're taking advantage of them, or you're only speaking to them because you need them, or like you need that job right then and there. Plus, you don't know what you don't know. So if you're working on some software system and you think that you're the best coder in the world, I'm sure there are other software engineers that could share something with you that could be valuable, even if you didn't even think about something a certain way, because coding is kind of speaking a language and being able to think through maybe what someone else, how they would implement that. The next one is never dismiss someone as unimportant. So find value in everyone. I think this one hit home for me really, because especially if we are STEM focused, I think when you look at other engineers, you could discount a different engineering group, whether that be biomedical engineering or something. But then also a lot of different majors too, especially in college. And I think it's very important to learn that everyone can teach you something, even if they are not well educated or didn't come from what you have, or have any sort of familiar background, or from a different country. It's just very important to go with that mindset. The other one, it's okay for it to not feel natural. I think I like comparing it to an engine in a car. It needs maintenance. You need to work at it. You need to practice, and it does take time. And it's okay for it to not feel normal because it's not supposed to feel natural right off the bat when you haven't really done it before. And I'll get into how we can kind of breach that gap and approach that. But just know that it's okay if it doesn't come naturally or feel that. Aim to build genuine relationships. So instead of asking, like, what is in it for me, flip that around and kind of be how I can help. One of the biggest things that I love doing, especially with my mentors and my bosses, is when we talk about my development plan, I flip that back on them and I'm like, hey, how can I help you develop and you grow? So look for that ways because it should be a mutual relationship. How can I share what I know? Because let's just say I know all about gardening and that may be interesting or help that person just as a tidbit or a fun fact for the day, even. The next one is be intentional. This one's really, really big. Set out with a goal, write down and really schedule people. This is having a Google Calendar. I do Google Calendar and like live by it. And I have follow-up scheduled. I have meetings scheduled. So just be very intentional because in the end, you're in the driver's seat for your life and where you want to go and what you want to learn. The next one is come prepared with conversation points. It can especially help the feeling natural gap if you kind of think through what you want to discuss, what you maybe want to take out of the conversation. And I am definitely an advocate for, in general, it's okay for there to be silence, but especially in a quick 30 or 15-minute virtual coffee chat where you have the attention of someone, it's important to be able to come with something on your plate that can at least start the conversation. The next one is write down highlights from the conversation for future reference. So I did this when I was in my internship. I had this booklet. Every single person that I had met with, I wrote down their name, their date, and then after I had met with them, I had spent like 10 minutes back at my desk writing down some of their background or their history, some of the things that they told me. And then I was able to like follow up on that with a thank you email, or note, or the next time if I wasn't going to meet up with them for another 2 months, say, and I would maybe forget what they had said before that next coffee chat, I would read through and then I would be able to reference like, oh, hey, you said that your birthday was coming up. Happy early birthday. Or, oh, you had said that you were looking at doing some study abroad program. Oh, tell me more about that. And it just makes it more personal. Which to do that, next bullet point, exchanging contact information, making sure before you leave, kind of ask, hey, is it okay if I get your email or your phone number if you don't already have that, or if you can kind of reach out again. And then follow up and follow through. I'm a big advocate of do not overpromise and underdeliver. So if you say that you're going to do something, you need to do it. You need to follow through. And it's really nice when someone that you've talked to or they've given your time feels that you've really appreciated them. So following up with a personalized thank you note of adding that in. Okay, so how to find opportunities at work and just in life in general. I'm gonna tout this until I'm done with this presentation, but every interaction is an opportunity to meet someone new. I had this, honestly, she became like one of my best friends in high school. We were in the cafeteria line and she was by herself, was kind of out of her element, was new to the school. And it was one of those where I was like, hey, I'm also here by myself. Do you just want to eat lunch with me? And we sat down and we just chatted. And I know that takes a lot, especially if you don't have the most outgoing personality, but it was just really nice. And I think that a lot of people do appreciate that. And it's just, if you don't start it, then someone may not, but you never know what could blossom from that interaction. Going into the next one, first step is just simply starting one conversation. This can be an email. This can be just saying hello, asking about your day, getting it down to like, oh, hi, how was your Thanksgiving? What do you have planned for the holiday? Are you excited for the new year? I think just starting on one topic and then kind of listening to the nibbits that they give you, and that can continue to flow into a larger conversation. Meet people that have different interests than you. Even if we're talking small as this person's hardware focused, this person's software focused, I think it's really important to communicate because at the end of the day, we're all in this world kind of working together, and it's important to understand their perspective and their point of view. Getting involved in work groups. So this will especially become important when you start in college and you start your full-time job or even an internship, but there's a lot of opportunities for you at work, which I know your mentors can share more about. But just there's this new employee buddy program where there could be a lot of affinity groups, or this internship group, or any alumni from a college that you go to, or even a high school that you go to in college, or any other robotics kids that you can have that conversation with. But just getting involved in those actual groups. And then extracurricular organizations. So you all have that one down by being a part of this team, because you all have met each other and you have these amazing opportunities for the incredible mentors to guide you, and then also your fellow students to learn from. And then finding an official mentor, which leads me into my next slide of the importance of benefits of mentors. Again, it can be an extracurricular coach. It can be a friend that's a little senior to you, like a couple years older, or some captain of the team. It can be any alumni or an academic sponsor. So even if that's some sponsor that's helping with getting into college or writing those essays, it can really be anyone and everywhere. And then exposure to any experience or advice from a more senior individual is just very, very important, and you continue to grow and to learn. So finding a mentor, I think it's important because with this, not every single person that I came across was a good fit to be a mentor. And I think that's okay. And I think that's the friend, same as finding good friendships or being in a strong relationship. It's okay to learn and grow from people and build that network, as opposed to having that strong mentorship where you go to them with your challenges, you can relate to them, you talk through a lot of items with them, and you respect them. Or in that stage of life, if you're looking for something for a full-time job, you look at a mentor who could be in that profession or that field, or maybe switched out of it and digging into that a little bit more. So just taking your time, and it's okay if not every introductory email that you send out, it's okay if they don't all respond, or it's okay if you have a first little coffee chat and the mesh isn't just right. So you learned a lot in that virtual 30-minute coffee chat, but after that, it's okay if it doesn't continue. So how to start finding a mentor? I think it's a simple introduction and ask. So I know it may sound crazy to just send an email out of the blue if you don't have a specific connection. But I have done it multitude of times, and I have received a lot of emails out of the blue from other Georgia Tech students who are currently going through the program, or people who are interested in working at Home Depot or something like that. And I promise you, it's not weird. Ask some of your other mentors. They will not look down on that. And so in that email, share a couple of things that you admire about their work, or if there is some connection, bring that up. Introduce yourself, tell them who you are, what you're interested in, why you're reaching out, and then ask for a quick 15 to 30-minute virtual coffee chat to kind of just get to know them. And again, it's okay if it doesn't work out, just keep trying. Again, flex this muscle and you'll get better and better. And then at that first meeting, just set the stage and get to know each other. I think, again, easier said than done, because younger Brooke, I don't know if I would have been as confident as I am today. But getting to know the mentor, asking hobbies, just realizing that they're also a person, and that they're also interested in getting to know you and giving back, because I know every single one of these mentors on the call had a mentor that helps them get to where they are today. Okay, mentorship tips and tricks. Think about what you want your takeaway to be. So I think this goes kind of to come prepared with that. Do you want to discuss your career path and where you want to take that? Do you want to grow a skill, as in mine of public speaking, or detail orientation, things like that? Kind of think about what you would like to learn from that mentor. The other one is mind your mentor's time. I think a lot of very successful people out there are successful because they're busy. They have a lot on their plate. They're doing a lot of fabulous things. And so it's not an issue that you're asking for a certain time, but just make sure you use that wisely. So come prepared, come willing to discuss or bring things up. And so I think that leads kind of into my next one of being in the driver's seat. So this is your growth and your journey. You can do so many things with your life, and it's so exciting. And I think I'm really looking forward to kind of looking back at you all on this team in 10 years or so and just seeing the fabulous things that you've done. But I think that because you can do so many things with your life, it's really important to keep your head on straight and to think through what you want to do and be very intentional about that. And it's okay if you don't exactly know, but as long as you're being intentional about growing and learning and figuring out what you like and what you don't like. And I'll pull this into my General Electric internship, but it's also okay if you realize what you don't like. I know that in that internship, I realized that I wasn't necessarily a hardware girl, and that is okay because I fell in love with software. But finding what your niche is, what you're good at, what you're interested in, and just being in that driver's seat. Again, do your due diligence to prepare, and then frame your problem as a growth opportunity. I think sometimes, I mean, we have a lot of things going on in our life, and a lot of these challenges, make sure to twist that away from mm, always talking negatively about them and frame them as a growth point. It's totally okay to fail. I have done it so many times, and I'm sure you all have done it already in your life. But as long as you turn that around and you figure out how to learn and grow from that. And then give acknowledgement whenever you succeed. I think there have been so many mentors that have helped me get to where I am, and it's really nice. I think at least of sending them an acknowledgement of, hey, I know 2 years ago we had talked about me really wanting to go into product management, and I'm here and I'm loving it and it's going great. So thank you again so much for that. And also, like, keep giving acknowledgement to the seniors on this call because they have dedicated a lot of time and energy to you all. And I know that they really want to see you all succeed, but just giving that acknowledgement and thank you to them. And then mentors can be formal or informal, short term, long term, anything you want. I think sometimes that ambiguity and that gray space kind of scared me in the beginning, but it was also nice because there are some formal mentorships of people will volunteer to be your mentor. You sign up for a mentor program, but I think it can also be very informal of, hey, you really get along with this more senior person and there are more informal coffee chats or lunches or get-togethers or conversations. And then maintain that relationship. I think it's important, similar to a friendship, a relationship with your parents or your siblings or anything. It takes that continual effort to continue to build and to grow that, and mentorship is no different. So I'll leave you with this. The more you practice, the easier and the better it gets. I promise you. I think overall, summation, mentorship and networking and speaking to people who weren't already in my close circles where we've breached that introduction was very scary for me at first. But now it's very exhilarating to grow and to learn from a lot of different people. And I think it's very important because, especially with your interest in robotics, it's important to understand what is the next thing, what is the thing that maybe this other team has learned that you could implement or integrate, or what is something that didn't work for them that you'll learn and then you all don't have to make that mistake. And so really just expanding the people that you know, getting to know everyone in your school or in your other extracurriculars or things like that. So just leaving with the power that you all are going to do great things, and I'm so excited. But I think it's also important to flex the group that you know, as opposed to just always working on what you know, because a lot of people can help you continue to grow. So that is my presentation. I definitely had wanted to open it up for questions. I know I'm also a fast speaker and I recognize that. And I've definitely discussed with my mentors on that, but I want to make sure that you all have the opportunity, if anything was vague or if you'd like me to go into anything else, I definitely can.
Okay, so far, thank you for your presentation. And currently in the chat, I don't see any questions. For everyone that, oh, okay, so I have a question. There's a question currently in here. So first of all, if anybody else has any questions, feel free to post them in the chat and we will get to them. So currently we have a question. It says, when you mention intentional, will that make people uncomfortable? Is there any strategies that we can use?
Mm. I think that's a good question. I'm going to relate this to a friendship that you're trying to build. I think when I say intentional, I mean, I don't think that a mentor mentee relationship or networking can be like, it won't just happen if we don't do anything. And so reaching out and just being like, hey, I hope you're doing well. Here are the things that have kind of been going on in my life. I would love to meet up for a coffee chat when you have time. And so intentional in reaching out, I don't think it makes anyone feel uncomfortable. I definitely wouldn't overflow them. And I think that kind of goes into minding your mentor's time of don't send them 15 emails in a row. Keep your emails succinct to the point of what you're looking to gain. And then you can definitely talk through more of that when you're face to face or Zoom to Zoom. But I don't think that it'll make anyone intentional. So no, I don't think anyone uncomfortable. And then strategies is keeping it to the point, making sure that you take time in reaching out, but not too much time. But then I don't know if this question was for that, but also intentional in your growth and in life. I think you can't just learn a lot of things through osmosis through air. You need to read, you need to experience physically with your hands, you need to talk to people. And so with your free time, being intentional about what you're reading, what you're looking into, the time that you're spending in this extracurricular is very important, and continuing to learn and grow as opposed to mindlessly um, sitting in front of a TV or something like that.
Okay, so there's another question in the chat, and it's, is there any exercise or practice for kids to develop interest in others? It does not come natural to them.
That's a really good point. I truly think that there is something that connects everyone, whether that's your interest in travel, music, opera shows, reading, the beach, gorillas. And so honestly, the news. I think I would kind of look through. My grandmother actually did this strategy with me. I think it's very important for you to understand all of the different topics and categories that are of interest to you and to other people. And so even if that's, let's do an exercise, actually homework exercise, write down all the things that you're interested in. So any animals that you love, any colors that you love, fashion, computers, wedding planning, anything. And then write down all of the other things that you can think of. When I was with my grandmother, when I was younger, we would like walk around her garden, and every corner that we turned, I had to change the topic. And so being able to change the topic very quickly kind of taught me that there are a lot of different ways that you can interact with people, and just finding that, because I think it's neat when you can relate to people who are very technical, but then you can also relate to people who, I don't know. I mean, I wear contacts, and so even just struggling to put contacts in. So just kind of thinking through before you have some of these conversations, what's of interest to you, what could be of interest to other people. But again, it doesn't come natural. And it's continuing to work on it and definitely not getting down on yourself, because I tripped and fell so many times.
Thank you. So the next question is, how did you find your mentors?
when I had this physical calendar before I moved to Google Calendar, and I would kind of write down a lot of the thoughts that I had, whether that was I'm really interested in cybersecurity, but I don't really know much about that, or I have no clue what I want to do with my life, because that was also a thought in college, all the way to how do I deal with this conflict that I have with one of my teachers or one of the friends, or not really friends, but this person. And so then I would start trying to figure out who could help me answer those questions, whether that be a teacher or a parent or one of the mentors here or something like that. And then starting that conversation again of just being like, hey, we haven't chatted one on one yet. I would love to kind of get to know you and get to know you better, Jessica, let's just say. And then in that 30-minute coffee chat that you have with Jessica, kind of bring up some of the things that you're facing. And then look, Jessica could become a great mentor and you could continue to work with her. Another way is, like I said, Jessica now has a network. And so at the end of some calls, be like, hey, Jessica, who do you think I should talk to about this? Or just like something else in general. And then Jessica would be like, well, actually, I think like you should talk to this other person at this company that I work with at, or this friend that I have. And then reaching out to them and being like, hey, Jessica thought that we would be great to connect on XYZ, or even nothing at all. And so I would love to just chat, or like, let's go on a walk, or let's go get boba or ice cream or whatever. So I think that starting at one point, and then because Jessica has a network, growing from there and asking the mentors that you have or the people that you trust, like, hey, can you suggest or recommend someone else for me to reach out to?
So there's a new question in the chat, and it's if you think your peers put on an offensive topic, how to change the topic next.
That's a good point. I think this one can be a case by case basis, and I want to be careful in this one, because let's just say they're offensive in the sense that they're saying something that you don't necessarily want to discuss or talk about. So they're kind of commenting about gardening and how it's not that much fun, and that I don't know why people kind of put their time into that. But no one, you just don't know anyone's history. So let's just say that you're there with that person talking offensively about gardening, but then this other person could love it, but not really want to say anything. And so I think in that instance, it's very important to kind of skirt. And even if that's just blatantly being like, hey, I don't know if I feel comfortable with that topic. Can we move on? Especially if the topic is badgering or belittling someone else. I think it's really important to cut down bullies, because it is not nice. And again, kind of going to your branch of like, you don't want to be known for kind of just being the follower under a bully who is saying something offensive. I think in other situations, if you don't think it's appropriate to necessarily address it, then have some other random topic in mind. If you've been chatting for a while, maybe go back to one of those other ones. So if you were talking about shopping at Home Depot and really excited about Christmas or one of the holidays coming up, and then how Home Depot has a gardening section, and then how gardening doesn't really fit and this person doesn't like gardening, kind of be like, okay, well, Home Depot, I just went and bought this ladder because I'm doing this painting project, or my parents are repainting the house. And so kind of going back to that, and then hoping that the conversation flows in a different way, I think is an easy mind hack for me, because we had kind of just discussed it. So I don't have to necessarily pull something out of thin air.
Okay, thank you. And also the same person that asked that question, his name is their name is John, and so they also wanted to thank you for attending this, and they also thank you for like sharing the method of listing all the topics and practicing the topic changing. And so there's currently not a new question in chat, but I have one that I'd like to ask you. So for lots of people, like when they're, especially when they're reaching out for the first time, including me sometimes, get like very nervous. Like for example, like sometimes like we know that like maybe talking to that person, like we could get a new friend or something, but it's like we don't like, what's like your mentality that you have that like allowed you to become very confident and reach out to everyone?
Mm, that's a really good question. It was hard for me because I took a lot of things personally, and I thought that if someone didn't reply to me, or if we didn't necessarily have a good conversation, that was a reflection of me. And I want to reassure you all that that is not. It may have not been the right timing. It may not have been the right person to necessarily help you with that. And at some point, just letting that roll off your back and saying, hey, it's okay. Because I think in the end of the day, you're not going to get everything, even when we're talking about college applications, when we're talking about wanting to like go in and get every single sale item at the store, or lucking out on the 25 gift card kind of draw. It just always won't work in your favor. And I think this is just another one that it's okay. And when I'm thinking, so my mindset when I'm sending out this email is to make it very me, very personal. I think a lot of people can get to copy and paste of like, hey, Brooke, I would love to like chat with you, but it comes off as very, they need me for something. And as the person in the mentee relationship, you want to make sure that you show them in how you write that email that you're not trying to use them, that you're just generally curious and you want to know that authentic person and create a genuine relationship with them. I think that's a good way to kind of go in that of like, hey, I'm genuinely interested in what you do, or what, or like how you could potentially help me walk through this problem. And I would really appreciate if you had 15 minutes to meet with me and discuss this, because I think that you would be the perfect person to mentally walk this through with me, or something like that. So just come at it from that authentic side.
Okay. And can I ask another question?
Yes, I'll go for it.
Okay. So like for example, when I first came into the team, like half of the people were new, but like most of them were boys, and including me, there was only two girls on the team. And at the start, it was like kind of awkward because like the boys like they got together like really easily, and I didn't have a lot of topics to talk with the boys. So do you have any like good icebreakers or something just to get familiar with people that you're not that like used to be with?
I will tell you, and I think this goes for probably a lot of people in this group, there's this term called imposter syndrome. And I think basic definition is you're in this group and you don't feel like you belong necessarily. So you kind of feel like an imposter, even though you have all of the brilliance to really be there and to hold your own. Um, Growing up, I loved English and history. I did not like math. And honestly, I would go to holiday dinners and my grandparents would be like, hey, Brooke, what do you want to do when you grow up? And my response was, and I quote, I don't know, as long as it has nothing to do with math or science. In in high school, I had this AP, or it was like a pre-AP calculus teacher that really believed in me. And she said that, Brooke, you're actually really good at this and you have a lot of potential and capability. And that's when it took off. And so I actually applied to 18 colleges, believe it or not, because I was very going back and forth of, do I want business or engineering? And then at that time I was considering whether I wanted to be close from home, far from home. There was a lot of variables in that. But I went to school and I did not do robotics, which I'm very grateful that you're all getting this exposure. I did not touch a lick of code until I got to college. And I definitely felt that I was amongst these ranks where I didn't fit in, gender or not, because I felt behind. There were a lot of people that were kind of ahead of me or that were thinking past me, and I wasn't understanding a lot of these concepts because they're very complicated. And when you look at them at a high level and someone kind of doesn't truly know how to break something down, it is very, very overwhelming. And so I most definitely felt that. Another layer onto that was definitely being a female in this space, because electrical and computer engineering, I think that probability or the percentage ratio was probably 85% male, 15% female at Georgia Tech. And it was very intimidating in my classrooms because I was the only girl. And especially with the layer of a lot of these kids in my classes, which I'm glad that you all are getting this leg up, but I was just starting very, very much behind. Um, Breaking the ice with I say all of that to relate to you all because I think, one, I'm glad that you all are starting now and continuing to learn and to grow. Two, realization that there's always someone in the room that knows more than you, and to not get down on yourself because you don't know that one snippet or this one, like you can't fix this bug or something like that, because you can also teach them something, but don't let them intimidate you. Three, breaking that barrier between guys and girls. I think there's this inept, if I look at my list of what I'm interested in, there's a big miscommunication because I think I really love puppies and shopping and like have looked into straightening my hair or something like that. So there is that concept of finding topics to relate to them on, whether that's anime or video games or something, but meet them halfway, meet them kind of where they're at. Get to know them for who they are, and then hopefully they get interested kind of in what you're looking for too. Synopsis, I totally feel you. It's most definitely a thing, and I'm very proud of you and all of the females on this call. But it's definitely possible, and kind of keep pushing and don't feel like an imposter because you deserve to be here and you're very intelligent and capable just by being on this team and have a bright future.
Thank you. And I think there's a question from Annie. So it's to expand a little beyond networking, mentoring, and follow up on Amy's question, for kids to socialize outside their familiar groups or girls' boys groups, any tips on breaking ice at the very start?
When I was younger, and honestly still to this day, I challenge myself to meet one new person a week, whether that be when I'm grocery store shopping or I'm like out for a walk in my neighborhood. And I don't want to encourage speaking to random strangers because that's also not good and it's important to be safe. Caveat there. But in your social circles of meeting someone randomly at school as you're walking between classes, or when you're for a break, or meeting a new teacher that, I don't know, could be a literature teacher and you're not signed up for any of those classes, but just getting to know them. So challenge yourself, one new person a week, and having a valuable conversation of at least 10 minutes with that person and kind of just getting to know them. In breaking the ice, my strategy honestly became I would just walk up, introduce myself, and kind of be like, hey, why are you here? Or, oh, I see like you're looking at this flower. Or, oh, so I see that you enjoy soccer. When did you get into that? And so coming up with some of those questions, but I really like using the environment that I'm in to kick off those conversations and to pinpoint, even if they're sitting on a bench reading a book, kind of just sitting down and being like, hey, do you mind if I join you? What are you reading? Something like that.
Okay, thank you. So if anybody has any more questions, or if they want to give like a positive comment about Brooke's presentation or her Q&A today, feel free to either type it in the chat or as the time being, if you really want to. Okay, so So, Sophie has a question. It's how would you start a conversation with someone you don't really have anything in common to?
Hmm. I think before you even know anything about them, there's a lot that a person says non-verbally. So even if that's going up to a person being like, hey, I really love your shirt, or oh, I love how you did your hair, or again, the whole book kind of thing, or even I literally carry this water bottle with me everywhere, kind of being like, hey, where did you get that water bottle? Or, oh, I also have a crazy large water bottle too. Or, oh, do you like pink or something? Because everything in my life is pink. Um, but I think finding a commonality with everyone is definitely possible and it takes practice. But even like look around this room of mentors and your classmates, like you have a similarity besides robotics, remove STEM completely, you have a similarity with everyone. And so really harnessing that power. Um, Again, I think that in me speaking and in doing this presentation, I think it comes off as being very easy, and I know it's not. But it's just something that you practice and you get better at. And I promise you, in 10 years, or way less, actually, like you could be here giving this presentation to a fellow robotics team who is also trying to figure out how to breach that gap.
Thank you. Um, does anybody else have questions or comments? Oh,
Yeah, I just want to mention when you talk to a person that is totally has nothing in common with you, sometimes you feel embarrassed because when Brooks asked me, "Oh, you like pink?" Because I just noticed you wear a pink shirt. I love pink too. Then I say, I don't like pink at all. This is the only clean clothes I have. Then you can say something, oh, I always save all my clothes on the weekend to wash to save the water. Maybe that person is environmentalist or something like that. Or even though nothing in common, and they just be very cold and don't want to respond. That's okay. You can just laugh at yourself. Okay, sorry to interrupt you or something like that. And I just go to the direct on the purpose, say, hey, I just come to you to ask you a few questions related to the work or whatever the question you want to know. Don't need to mention about pink or laundry or whatever. Just go straight, and they probably just answer you directly. And sometimes even if they don't want to do that, I mean, probably you feel, oh, I'm so embarrassed because that person doesn't want to answer my questions and doesn't want to do anything related to me. They say just okay, have a nice day. That's it. Nothing. When you don't feel embarrassed, then nothing happened because people will forget it very quickly. So think about that. You're how many people on the world, on the earth, and you just one tiny small part of it, and so many things happen every day, and if you don't think it's important, then it's not important. So especially for the young girls and boys, you are shy, you don't know how to socialize with people, and you feel bad when some people say no to you. That's normal. Think about this. You're only like 13, 14 years old right now. Think about when you get 30 years old, 50 years old, 70 years old. You think how many no's are you going to receive in your day, in your whole life? It's like millions of them. So it's nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
okay. Um, if anybody has any questions at this point, they can open their mic real quick and say it, or they can type it in the chat. So Brooke, is there anything you want to say to like wrap up or like conclude something?
I just want to say that I appreciate you all listening to me. Jessica, if anyone asks, feel free to give them my email. I would love to help anyone in any way that I can. And I'm really excited to see what this team does and how you all grow individually and together. but just letting you all know that I'm here for you, even if you want to brainstorm with me or chat one-on-one or anything. I'm an open book, so I'm here for you all whenever you need. But I really appreciate it, and I thank you.
Oh, really? We should thank you for preparing so well for the slides and time and everything. I think you see how I met Mac is I mean, I cannot imagine. I mean, totally, we don't know each other, and I seek help, and he responds. We are totally stranger before that, and he's been our mentor for 2 years, right? This is the third year. So what I'm saying, sometimes the first step is really hard. Once you step out, you can just open your mind and open your network really easily, because there's so many nice people. They're willing to help the young people, young generations, and they probably will say no to adult, but they don't say no to younger persons. So just step out and try your best. I mean, you have the future, and I think everything should be good.
Well said, Jessica.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
So I would like to thank Brooke today for attending this, presenting, and like doing all the preparation, and also answering everyone's question and giving out very good tips. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy, also for being a great MC. You crushed it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brooke. Okay,
Thank you,
everyone have a nice evening.
Bye all. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Okay, end this.